Happy Thursday, Rob. You know this song? The Days? This is your song, bro. I showed you this song, and
turn that up.
You were just running it on replay.
There was New York City shenanigans to be had to this song. I remember.
Yeah, man. I woke up today and the markets were red. How you doing, Rob?
You can't be mentally red when you got that song jamming. You got a 𝘠𝘬𝘵𝗦𝘬𝘴 to yourself. There's no need to be upset. Shout out the OG I Am Nomad.
Here we go. Alrighty, guys, let's cover this base roll-up map that we did yesterday. It was a banger stream yesterday. We did the base roll-up map. It was really fun. Had a lot of good teams. I think it's almost hitting 100K now, which is sick. Had a fun stream as well. So we'll just pull that up on the screen then, and we'll go over some of the teams on it. We didn't really get a chance to go over it. So maybe if we can just click on the actual picture here. So we hit 93K views, which is sick. Not exactly our prime level from the OG days, but you know, we do what we can.
Ethereum's making a comeback.
Yeah.
You can see that here.
Rob, you're like a cyborg. You're like half on the screen here. Scoot to the right of it. There you go.
Center here. We haven't done the screen share in a while. The most innovative media company in crypto. I am quite zoomed in as well. We're going to get that figured out.
Alrighty. So I mean, look, we had Risk Zero on. We had Succinct on. That was fun. We had L2B throw a quote tweet. I think the sleepers here were Base, Linea, Scroll. Some of these teams, Aztec, that aren't really confirmed that they are actually going to be based, but they are. That was cool. We had Rhea on. Yeah.
Yeah, shout out to some of the guys who boosted OGs at the Ethereum Foundation and the Ethereum ecosystem.
Yeah,
consensus. Obviously, Joe Lubin, Sharplink Gaming, very ETH aligned. Shout out to those guys doing great work. We also had a pretty good conversation about Ethereum treasury companies amidst the technical-based roll-up talk.
Yes.
Had that with Mara from Alluvial and 𝘬𝘁ROM, which I think paired up very nicely because Mara is helping to onboard a lot of these institutions. And then once they're onboarded, it's like, what's next? Well, staking, restaking, engaging with the DeFi ecosystem from there. And 𝘬𝘁ROM is one of the OGs, can obviously talk quite a bit about that. Justin Drake retweeted. I think the Ethereum Foundation retweeted. So several very ETH aligned accounts. We appreciate your support.
Yeah, it was awesome to see. I totally agree with that. We had good turnout. I think it's going to hit 100K. Honestly, I'm just stoked that Ethereum is having its narrative time in the sun again. I don't know where this thing goes. I don't know how much juice Tom Lee's got left. I don't know where these DATs are going to take this thing. I still think it's going to struggle in some capacity. I don't know if we get to ETH Bitcoin ratio highs of 21. Be hard to see. But I think, I think this cycle is very much firmly Bitcoin cycle, and I think that Ethereum is going to have its way in towards like the latter half, towards where we're heading. And I know people are saying that this is never going to end, but I think whatever comes next will be an Ethereum-led kind of cycle. I think, and so I think Ethereum is basically a couple years off of having its Bitcoin moment, is what I'm trying to say here. But I think that this technology is great. I'm stoked on this map, and I'm glad that we could get it out.
Yeah, the 2021 ETH Bitcoin highs are about a 50% move on ETH Bitcoin away. It's at 0.05 ETH to Bitcoin ratio right now. If we get to about 0.075, then we're kind of around that range high. Obviously, back in 2017, we went all the way 0.1, all the way to 0.25, 0.15. So it really peaked out there, but it did not stay very long at all at that price point.
Yeah.
For that to take place, you would need about 6.5 to 7K ETH with not much change in Bitcoin, maybe between 110 and 120. If we get a pop, I mean, Ethereum DATs, what would be the catalyst that would spur them higher without spurring Bitcoin higher? I think it would really be these DATs crossing the critical threshold of about $1 billion and then starting to issue more shares. We had Michael from Framework. We're going to have Vance from Framework tomorrow to talk a little bit more about this. And it really did seem like there was this inflection point once the DATs reached this scale. Then they would open up some more conversations with more traditional banks that were able to operate at such scale. That seems like it would be the catalyst to drive ETH Bitcoin higher. But then again, I mean, MicroStrategy could enter the S&P 500 and Bitcoin could absolutely blow the top off that thing, and Bitcoin dominance could surge.
Dude, we are less than 2 weeks away from rate cuts. No, we're not. We're very close to 2 weeks being away from rate cuts. I mean, come on.
Today's the 4th.
Today's the 4th.
Yeah, and I think we're looking at the Wednesday.
Hey, Pow's coming, brother. Jay Powell is coming. He wants your coins. The institutions want your coins. Come on, Rob. Get fired up. They want your coins, my boy.
Are you going to sell it to him?
I don't know.
Press the red button?
A little bit of them.
They're coming. This is what we always said was going to happen.
Who we got on the show today?
Oh, it's going to be a banger. Shout out to all the guys behind the scenes.
Yep.
We got the guest booking.
We got Jacob from Plasma, their general counsel. He put out a tweet earlier. He was saying Plasma started the stablecoin chain category. Looking forward to coming to talk to the boys about it. Looking forward to that.
Yeah, who else we got on?
We got Sun from Veda, the co-founder, CEO, who contributed to the massive Plasma pre-deposit campaign of billions. They've contributed billions of dollars. I get in DMs right now. Launch this on Pump and dual stream from people that just want to ape our coin.
Yeah, let's talk about that. God. Let's talk about,
dude. Pump creator markets are going crazy right now.
What's your bull bear case on Pump creator tokens?
I don't know, but I heard Rasmus said he made like 12K already from it, and this guy Mitch made like 70K. Talked to Chain Yoda. He said he made 10K, but it's hard to keep his token sustained. Bear cases, creators get labeled as scammers. Bull cases, your token runs the 10, 20, 50 mil. You make a ton of creator fees, and you do really well.
I think the most interesting thing here is what is going to sustain trading volume. I think what you're talking about is like if an audience is bullish on a creator, there's going to be a bunch of buying volume. Maybe it drives up the market price. And then realistically, they may just forget about it if there's not a whole lot of motion with the show. And it just sits at that high market cap. To me, how can streamers get creative and generate unique interactions with their audience such that the token is crucial to that interaction? And it becomes this portal or this gateway into that interaction. That I think is going to sustain trading volume. It's going to continuously push people to buy the token, sell the token if they're not happy with whatever product it is that the channel or the stream is providing. It to me, I made this analogy earlier. Like to me, it reminds me of Chainlink because they charge for their services. They charge in their token. And so as you want Oracle services, you have to buy the Link token. And I think they even, they'll let you pay in USDC if you want price feeds, but then they're going to take the USD, they're going to convert it into Link, and it's the same kind of buying pressure and trading volume. And I ultimately think that is going to be what makes or breaks these creator tokens. We'll see. We'll see. I haven't seen a very compelling model as of yet. One of the ones that I have seen is I think it was the chopping block. Shout out to our guys Hasib, Leshner, Tarun. These guys said that they're going to be donating their creator fees to charity. I think they're going to go to Coin Center, which I believe is kind of like this Washington, D.C. U.S. regulatory lobby service. And so they're obviously, shepherding the industry, and they're pushing forward friendly regulatory landscape. I mean, that's one way to do it, right? But then as, you can imagine as the bear market comes, people are going to be less excited to donate to this charity. And so why are they, going to continue to support the token if that's where the proceeds go? I think the more compelling path is to take the creator fees and reinvest them into the show, how you reinvest them, what you do with that, what other features you build out. That's where it pays to get creative.
Look, man, I agree. I think it'll be it's a very interesting experiment. I'm very intrigued by this, both Pump Fund, Zora, Base, all of it. So
what's interesting about Zora is that each piece of content is its own token as well.
I know. I don't love that, honestly. I'm not sure. It's like,
why not?
I like the whole, like, you just have one place to pump your token. Like, you have one show, one place, one stream, etc. So look, let's get Jacob up here. He's coming up. Jacob Whitman, General Counsel at Plasma. And yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing what he has to say about stable chains. This should be a good, spicy stream. We got Jacob in the back.
Hey,
Jacob,
what's up, guys?
Hello,
Welcome to the show, Jacob.
Yeah, Rob, Andy, what's up, guys? How you doing?
Dude, how do I get a jacket like that? That sweater is sick.
Yeah. Give me your address. I'll ship one your way.
Is it for the Plasma elites only, Rob?
Yeah. We'll get one for you guys.
Cool.
Yeah, they're really comfortable. I actually picked them out. So yeah.
Very cool. Well, Jacob, man, welcome to the show. First time meeting you as well as Rob. At least that's what I think. Would love to just get a background on yourself, man. Like, who's Jacob? What are your hobbies? What do you like to do with your free time? How'd you get into crypto? How'd you find Plasma? Kind of get us up to speed so we can have a little foundation.
Yeah. Happy to. So I've been a lawyer in this space for about 8 years. I started dabbling in Bitcoin in about 2012, 2013 with a buddy of mine in undergrad. Really believed in the separation of money from state and still do in many ways. And that really, influences, kind of how I operate as a human. Went off to law school in 2014 and totally abandoned any focus on crypto. Was just totally focused on school at the time. Graduated 2017, started doing capital markets work, mostly underwriter side IPOs. And the firm I was at the time actually represented Blockstack with their Reg A offering. So this was the first token registered with the SEC. And I kind of realized, hey, there's a niche here for crypto lawyers. So ended up becoming my entire practice, had somewhere between 100 and 150 clients. Moved in-house a few years ago. I was at another L2 or a layer 2 network. And then about 4 months ago, I joined Plasma. One of the co-founders is a friend of mine, and it just made sense for me to join at the time. As for hobbies, I don't have any right now. Mainnet launch is coming up, but I have a 9-month-old son, so spend a lot of time with him at home.
Congrats!
Yeah, thanks, man. Try to run and work out when I can, but yeah, you know how it is.
What's it like being a dad in crypto?
Oh, it's great, man. It's beautiful. I think you just find like a new purpose for what we do. Actually, one of the reasons I wanted to join Plasma is because I think someday my son's going to ask me, like, Dad, what did you do? What did you build? And I'll be really proud to tell him, I built Plasma, man. Like, I built it with this epic team that we have. So yeah, that's it's pretty fun.
Well, things are getting hot out there, Jacob. I'll tell you that. The stable chain wars when you joined Plasma may or may not have really existed, but they firmly exist today. I saw your tweet talking about Plasma really setting the stage for what a stable chain really is, if we're calling them that. I suppose that's the terminology nowadays.
Yeah, I don't mind that.
Yeah, okay, cool. Maybe we can just understand from your perspective here, how did Plasma come about to lead this category, right? Like, I think it's very clear Plasma is the leading stable chain today. None of them are live, so it's even hard to have a category. But when you're looking at this map here, you're understanding, like, okay, there's a core use case for payments for blockchains to, verifiably, conduct payments across global settlement, etc. How do you think about this stable chain race today with regards to Plasma leading the way? What is your broad holistic view? And then we can dive in.
I mean, the easy answer is it's not a distraction for us at all. We try not to think about it too much. We're heads down, focused on what we're building. But taking a step back, when we first pitched Plasma, in this idea of a stable chain, it didn't exist at the time, right? People were like, stable coins don't need their own chains. And now we've seen some of the largest companies in the world sort of validate what we're not even sort of, they are validating what we're building. Even down to some of the same copy that we've discussed. And it just shows that, we have the brightest team in the world thinking about some of the best issues. And we're going to continue doing that to the best of our abilities, even with some of these competitors popping up.
Got it. Jacob, another thing that I wanted to ask you about is a tweet that you had. It was also it was a quote tweet on top of Vance from Framework, who I think we're going to have on the show tomorrow.
Awesome.
But I'm curious if we can kind of get your take on this. Maybe we'll cut the clip and we'll quote tweet your tweet. And you said the original was that Plasma is the most important thing to happen to Bitcoin in a very long time. And this just kind of strikes me odd, right? Why is a stable chain so important for Bitcoin?
It's a great question, Rob. So we are going to be building a bridge to Bitcoin from Plasma. Kind of back to my early days in crypto, I tried to play with some early Bitcoin DeFi tools, and they just weren't very good. I think Plasma will be the first to really bring a strong distribution mechanic to DeFi on Bitcoin. Again, I'm a big Bitcoin believer. I think it's the best asset in the world that's really going to separate money from government and allow people to truly transact the way they want to transact and save money as well, right? So I think it starts with building a really strong base, which we're doing at Plasma, and then you'll see as that Bitcoin bridge is introduced, we're really going to bring people over. Really, to hone in on your question though, Rob, I think in a few years we're going to see people hold two assets: stablecoins and Bitcoin. And I think they're going to hold stablecoins that they can transact in, and they're going to hold Bitcoin that they can save money in and use as an asset that's going to appreciate over time.
Got it. There's strong interplay between those two.
Yes.
The separation between money and state, I think, is something that we hear a lot about, we talk a lot about. It's still very theoretical. In your words, like, what does that look like in practice, right? Like, we have a lot of combination, there's a lot of factors that go into it. Maybe people don't really understand like the ins and outs of it. What does, if we were to separate the two, what's the point A where we are now to the point B end state that we're trying to achieve?
Yeah, great question. I think it starts with separating money from politics and money from policies. So we're even sort of seeing it now with the Trump administration and their approach to really forcing the Federal Reserve, or trying to force the Federal Reserve to its lower interest rates. And, it might be good in the short term, might be bad in the long term. I'll let everyone have their own opinion on that. But the fact that a single president on a 4-year term can kind of dictate money the way they want just speaks to the core of the issue. So I think, if we can start separating Bitcoin, it's the truest form of money because it's separate from these policies in itself. There's no one that governs it. There's no one that gets to control distribution rate of Bitcoin. There's no one that gets to control of the underlying policies of it, right? It's the true autonomous currency. So it takes away those policies, and it takes away, this cyclical 4-year term you're seeing with presidents, or 8-year term sometimes, that really dictate people's lives.
Yeah. It is pretty crazy that we just have Trump strongmanning Jay Powell right now, just publicly berating him.
Yeah. I mean, not even Jay Powell. If you look down the entire federal, governor's board, we've seen him remove somebody, and now there's a lawsuits going on there, and it's quite interesting and quite fascinating. My general take on it, not to get into the politics of it, is whether you support it or not, we this level of power is really asinine to support, because you may be pro-Trump, but in 4 years of if the Democrats elected, you've just given them a pathway to sort of do the same thing, to enact their own policies.
Yeah, totally agreed. Kind of zooming in on some of the more current events here. Recently, there was a pretty insane liquidation spike on XPL, the plasma pre-market on Hyperliquid. Justin Sun, who I would consider somewhat of a competitor to Plasma at the largest scale. Like, if I'm thinking about the bull case for Plasma here, I'm thinking that XPL and the chain overtakes Tron at some point, right? Like, I'm thinking like the amount of Tether transactions happening right on Plasma should overtake Ethereum and overtake Tron. Like, that's like where we're trying to go. Justin Sun probably feels
go, Andy, not where we're trying to go.
I'm going to ask you about your bull and bear case here shortly as well. But thinking about what Justin Sun is running in his mind, seeing this happen from the council perspective, right? Like from the legal perspective. Now, I don't know what you can and can't talk about, but like when it comes to these types of situations, when you're managing community sentiment, when you're managing the legalities of pre-markets, of post-markets, of mainnet launches, like you have a different perspective than a lot of other people.
Yeah.
You know, when it comes to this liquidation event or these kind of like weird gray area situations in crypto markets, from the legal perspective, how do you view these now? And perhaps has your view on these types of situations changed due to the regulatory changes of the US? Maybe just walk us through how you think about these types of like crazy situations that happen in crypto that seemingly don't happen elsewhere.
Yeah, great question. I can't speak too much on the specifics of XPL for obvious reasons, but you know, I can tell you we at Plasma do a really good job of not letting these things, you know, be a distraction to the work we want to do, which is, you know, overtake Ethereum, overtake Tron, and build the world's best payments network. You know, but they're hard to ignore. They happen. You know, rumor says it was Justin Sun. I've seen, you know, notes to the contrary of that.
Okay.
And the thing about these pre-markets, right, is they're highly manipulatable, and I think it speaks to some of, you know, maybe, you know, the underlying tech, and less about the token itself. We saw whomever it was rotate from XPL to World Liberty Fight, right, and then sort of running the same playbook there. So yeah, we generally try to ignore it. It is hard to ignore. You know, Justin, if you're out there trading XPL, you know, it is what it is. You know, let's just keep an eye on how, you know, number of transactions on the network over the next year.
Well, dude, that brings up a really good point though, because today, and this is another good like legal type question that is not related to Plasma, but I think you'll have an opinion on. Today, World Liberty Fi decided to blacklist Justin Sun's address, locking $540 million or $540 million in unlocked tokens. So they locked his unlocked tokens and 2.4 billion in locked tokens, and say they believe an exchange has been using user tokens to sell and push down the price. So there's some comments saying from Olympio Crypto, "You do not dump on the president dumps on you. Unstoppable crime meets immovable scammer." Kobe says question mark. Mert put a picture of Trump and says, "I was a businessman doing business." What's your take from the legal perspective on this? Like, is World Liberty Fi, are they right to be locking tokens? Like, you know, in what permissionless environment should we be able to allow locking of tokens in this open market? You know, we all know Justin Sun, but what's your take from the legal perspective on this?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is the consequence of not thinking through unlocking the tokens in the first place, and sort of just making a shotgun decision on that. Because I know, you know, they decided to unlock their tokens recently. But no, I don't think it's good. I think it speaks to centralization, which, you know, if you look at the ethos of crypto, we are moving away from that. And it becomes a lot more complicated when it's the president of the United States. And I look forward to the Justin Sun versus POTUS lawsuit that'll be filed in the federal courts next week.
Oh my goodness, man.
Insane.
Yeah.
Insane. Yeah, Justin Sun.
It just sets a weird precedent, you know? It's just like, oh, we're gonna lock Justin Sun's tokens like this because
it does. I mean, this has happened in the past with coins, but again, I think it becomes a lot more complicated when it's you know, a project that's closely held to the highest elected official in office, and, you know, probably the highest elected official in the world. So I'm not sure how this is going to play out, but it'll be a fun one to watch.
Yeah. Cool. All right, let's revert back to Plasma. You know, I did mention that I'm curious what your bull and bear case is, and I genuinely think that we can get to a point where transaction volume and notional volume is going to be higher than Ethereum and Tron. You know, I think that's probably part of the end game goal here. When you decided to join Plasma, what was your mental kind of thought process on like, okay, what is the bull case here? What is the upside in terms of market dominance? And then, you know, maybe you thought through, okay, what if this doesn't work? What is the bear case? From your perspective, what is the current Plasma bull case and Plasma bear case?
Yeah, I think in our bubble, we look at number of transactions, but that's just the start for us. I want to, and the rest of the team wants to really be a payment tool in everyone's pocket globally. And through that, we will surpass Ethereum and Tron just by the pure distribution. So, I mean, my bull case is that you're using Plasma and don't even know it. I mean, how many times a day are you using checkout tools or payments tools or underlying payments rails, and you're not even aware that you're using those? Andy, how many coffees have you had today? You know, you mentioned iced coffee.
I'm fired.
Bro, me too. I've had like 4. But you know, that's all happening on the same payments network, and we don't even really know it as a consumer. So we want Plasma, and Plasma will be the rails of that happening.
Okay, and then what is your bear case?
There is no bear case, man. Yeah, there is no bear case for me. I'm super bullish on stablecoins from both, a consumer and policy perspective. I mean, kind of to tie back to the earlier conversation, the bear case is a general crypto bear case, and my concern is that a lot of the stuff that's happening in the current market, when we have a new, electorate in 2028, kind of gets flipped over with a little bit too much regulation, So I wouldn't say it's a Plasma specific bear case, but I think it's more of a general crypto bear case.
Mm-hmm. And this administration had the Genius Act. Obviously, that kind of opened the floodgates for stablecoins. Secretary of the Treasury Bessent has said publicly that he wants $3 trillion in stablecoin circulating.
He's even saying trillions.
$3 trillion by 2028, and how he wants to issue the government debt in stablecoins, or at least have stablecoin issuers purchase this debt, hold it on their balance sheet, to then deploy these stablecoins. How much does the strategy coming from the Treasury impact the strategy at Plasma? And is there a working relationship? What kind of interplay do you have there?
Yeah, I mean, we're talking to regulators around the world, policymakers around the world. For us, I think that, the Treasury is a really strong signal. I think Genius is obviously amazing for the space, and I'm really excited about the market structure bill that'll be coming out, and playing through the House. I would caution that this is just the foundation. There's still a lot of work to do. There are active lobbying groups out there that are lobbying, congressmen, congresswomen very hard right now. American Banking Association being one of them. They're filing letters to applicable senators weekly, basically. This week it's about the yield loophole that some exchanges are introducing, but they were also the ones who fought against allowing yields through the stable bills, right? So it's just going to be a constant battle. I also think Bessent and Treasury, they're a strong signal for the rest of the world is going. We're not necessarily focused on the Western market as much, right? We really care about emerging markets. So some of the conversations that I've had that are really interesting lately are with policymakers in Turkey, policymakers in the UAE, one really interesting, Syria, Egypt, places that, people aren't really thinking about, but these jurisdictions take a strong signal from, what the US is going to be doing.
Yeah, and they receive a lot of the benefit of stablecoins, just access to dollars, access to dollar-denominated yields, these types of things. And so I've noticed that you guys have started to promote some of the Plasma ecosystem a bit. There's been some Twitter accounts created for lending markets, for yield products, for payment products, consumer apps. And I imagine these will be tightly integrated with the network such that, right, there's an ideal world here where we have the Plasma chain. Users globally have a Plasma wallet account. They can spend their money directly at point of sale systems around the world without having to have that money go in their bank account. Some sort of integration from the Plasma chain, like that last mile thing is always the conversation about kind of stable chains. Is there a development within the Plasma ecosystem around yield products, around POS products, around vaults, these types of things? Like, what has been the development such that it's not just a chain for payments, but it's like I can live my entire financial kind of setup on chain there?
Yeah, Andy, I don't know if you've bugged our offices, but this is a great question and something we're often thinking about. we view stable coin usage in four, right? Save, spend, send, and earn. Okay. So it's not just spending, right? Like a lot of people around the world hold stable coins so that they can save money because they may be living in an area with a deflationary asset. A lot of people send money back home. And then the one you just hit on, which I'm very excited about, is earn. So I actually saw you have Sun on the show next, and I was really excited to see his name pop up. And really shout out to Veda. They've been an amazing partner to work with for us. They just also hired a rockstar GC. And I'm excited to continue that relationship with them, and there'll definitely be some stuff coming out. I can't share too much, obviously, but those are the four categories that we're thinking about, and the products being built on top of the chain reflect those four categories. Also, you touched on ecosystem. Really want to give a shout out to the Plasma ecosystem team. I've worked across a lot of teams, and they're working their butts off 24/7 to get the best blue chip partners launching on Plasma, which is going to be great for distribution on our network.
Yeah, I saw Aave, Curve, and then others, as well as native platforms as well.
Yeah, it's going to be a really fun network to play on. Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, Rob.
Yeah. So I'm just trying to think through like what this end game looks like once we have all these stable coins come on chain. The treasury is literally printing T-bills, and they're going almost directly to these stablecoin issuers. The banking lobby is going to have to bend the knee at a certain point, right? Like they're continuing, they're fighting this tooth and nail. But what happens once those banks sort of accept the eventual reality? It's not like they're going to just lose deposits, right? Those deposits end up on chain. So could you walk us through like how you see that progression happening?
Yeah, I think it's going to happen very quick. We've already seen JP Morgan, Citibank introduce, internal programs. I'm having conversations with some of those people in those programs. And I think, we're going to look 6 months down the road, and the landscape's going to look totally different from today. The deposit point's really interesting. So as we know, unlike many other banking systems around the world, the deposit system actually is very important in America. And that is, something the American Banking Association has lobbied for. But where they get wrong is that those deposits don't need to live in bank accounts. They can live on chain. Yeah. And like you and I aren't going to know that as consumers, but like we're going to have access to really cool yield programs, possibly by Veda. We're going to, through our bank accounts someday. And it's going to be very cool. But I agree with you, Robbie. They're going to have to bend the knee.
Yeah.
And so they eventually bring their assets on chain. You've said you've worked with some of these guys and kind of seen their internal programs that they have running. Are they running back this 2018, 2019 permission to blockchain, sort of like a walled garden setup where they're going to have their own L1, call it, they're going to have their own yield products? Or is there now, with the growth of Ethereum and Plasma, these other chains, is there going to be a push to make these more of a public chain and become composable with the rest of the ecosystem?
Yeah, I think that's going to be largely driven by regulation, to be honest. So I had a conversation with a colleague today. A lot of these systems will probably be closed at first, and that's just a nature of the KYC AML rules that a lot of these banks are subject to. So I think as an industry, we could, and a lot of us are doing it, but we could go to the regulators and discuss, why the public blockchains are better than these permission networks in many ways. But I think we'll see them as closed networks to begin with, which is, sort of unfortunate. We just need to do better as an ecosystem.
Just a matter of time before they bend the knee again. The last kind of follow-up that I have for you on this is that there's a lot that we have done. Genius Act, there's Clarity Act, there's all these things that have been passed through, but there's still a lot of work to go. If you were counsel for the SEC or the US government, like what would be some of the regulations that you would try to push through or you would recommend to lawmakers?
Yeah, actually, that's a great question and a big one that we just dealt with. So as you guys know, we just raised $50 million through our public ICO. We have 373 million. Yeah, thank you. We had $373 million in committed funds. All of those purchasers were fully KYC through Sonar, which is Echo's new product. But one of the things about that sale, right, is we still had to comply with Reg S and Reg D. So I think there's a lot of US purchasers that are sort of shut out from the investment ecosystem because of Reg D. Now the SEC just put out a list today of rules they're going to be looking at. I haven't had a chance to dive into that. I quickly looked at it and didn't see Reg D on there. But that's probably one of the first rules I would look at is, access to more investments for all consumers.
So Reg D is just the accredited investor rule?
It's the accredited investor rule. Yeah, you have to have a certain net worth or, particular license, or, make a certain amount of money per year to participate. And that's just a bad test, right? It just blocks people out from participating in cool ecosystems.
So Jacob, when you're looking at dealing with other let's say non-crypto banks and shops in Turkey and consumers in Buenos Aires and all over, right? They're not really operating in the same lens as we are in, let's just call it like the Western world. Like, what matters to them from a regulatory or legal perspective, and like what legal hurdles are you having to go through to get things done in in the global setting? Is it new challenges for you, stuff that you have experience in? Like, just curious, like what kind of like hurdles you're having to go through to get things done globally.
Great question. I'm spending a lot of my time these days focused on payments laws, not just in the US, but globally. MiCA, the CASP rules in the EU, a lot in South America. So I'm learning to navigate that, which has been a really fun and new challenge as general counsel to Plasma. And I think in these jurisdictions, they don't, a lot of these just don't have regulations, right? I mean, like some of they have really early and young banking systems. They don't have an SEC per se. So for us, it's really about educating a lot of the vendors and people we want to work across from about, why crypto can be a good solution for what they need for their own consumers in their regions.
So is it easier then to get stuff done?
It is, but it's different, right? It's just a different sort of education. I mean, some of these conversations is like, what is a stable coin?
Right, of course.
And why Plasma, which has been a lot of fun. I think oftentimes we get in the weeds of what we do, and sometimes it's good to take a step back and realize there's honestly probably 7 billion people who don't know who don't know about crypto. And so a lot of this is just education on why Plasma will be the payments network over the next 5 years. It's going to be the fastest growing.
Yeah,
and
bullish.
A big part of this, I wanted to ask, and we may be running short on time here, but you guys have a relationship with Tether. This is a big part of your strategy. Maybe there are things you can share, maybe there's things that you can't, but I'm just curious, like how that relationship has evolved and generally why it's an important piece to Plasma's strategy, why you guys chose to go with Tether versus another stable coin. How do you see Plasma and Tether working together going forward to really champion stable coins across emerging markets?
I mean, Tether has the best distribution of any asset in the world. 400 million people hold Tether. They use Tether daily. They hold Tether to save money. The relationship with them is very strong. They've been a great resource for us, both on the business and policy and legal side. So we'll continue to work with them. And we have some stuff in the hopper that, obviously I can't discuss.
In the hopper. When mainnet, boys and girls, we've got XPL pre-market. Justin Sun or somebody's over here manipulating it. We got crazy hype on this one. Jacob, what's the next 6 weeks look like for you guys? I know you guys are slammed in London in the office, just absolutely dialed. What's the next 6 weeks look like?
Mainnet is what we're focused on. We're heads down. I think for a lot of companies, mainnet is the crescendo of what they build. It's their product. For us, it's the platform for what we're going to build next. So we got to get that out, which, I'm actually, my laptop is sitting on a pack of Celsius right now, which I'll be drinking one of these after this. We'll get mainnet out, and that's go time, right? That's the time we've got the platform we can build on, and you'll start to see some of the really cool stuff that I've been alluding to.
4 coffees, a pack of Celsius, and a fresh crew neck.
Yes, sir. I need one of those.
That's what you get when you go to the Plasma office.
That's right.
Yes, sir. Jacob, man, I appreciate your time. Thanks for joining. It was a pleasure to meet you. Look forward to hanging out one day in London or somewhere around in a conference, learning some more about the legal side of the world. Don't spend much time there, but definitely some fun insights. And just appreciate you bearing with our curiosities. They are constantly
this
evolving.
Has been fun. Yeah, this has been awesome. Really great to meet you guys. Happy to hop on anytime and chat legal. But I got to go launch mainnet now.
Good luck, sir.
Well,
Inshallah.
see ya.
Yeah,
Keep
bye,
up
guys.
the work.
Sir. Alrighty.
Thanks, Jacob.
Man, trillions on chain, Rob. Trillions are coming on chain.
Nice. Money printer, go burr. Trillions on chain. I think this is just, it's an interesting confluence because on one side you have denominator going to 0, which obviously means that it's going like denominators, you know, they're just money printer go burr. There's so much more liquidity that's coming into the system. At the same time, we're bringing more of that liquidity on chain. So this is just a rapid confluence that could compound somewhat out of control.
Somewhat out of control. We got Sun, the co-founder of Veda, who basically made the Plasma pre-deposit campaign happen. So we're going to get a story time from him on how that went down. We're going to understand what Veda is, what their mission is, how they're working with some of the institutional folk. Yeah, Rob, another day, another stream. Let's get some tunes rolling, huh?
Yeah, I think the team is getting Sun ready behind the scenes. You guys just heard Jacob talk about Sun, who was instrumental in the setup process for Plasma. They're launching products on top of Plasma. And remember that even though a lot of these L1s and these chains are somewhat theoretical in nature, they will have apps on top of these chains. And what was the strategy that seemed to work in 2021? It was like, well, you go over to the new chain, good chain, and then you go into the apps on that chain. So there's a lot of opportunity.
Well, I mean, Plasma's got Aave, Curve, all the good ones coming.
Yeah.
There's a lot of red on this ticker bar today, Rob. What's going on?
I love this ticker bar because this has been my home for prices.
What's going on out there today, Rob? Little skittish out here.
I will say, if you're looking for just a little bit of market commentary, I did see that our good friend Nils, who has a sneaky token on live, which is live. They have TGE'd, but it's not on any centralized exchanges. 𝘱𝘱𝘐, the robotics protocol, Nil has been on, and he's been on with Arthur Hayes, and he's always a great
dude. You know who launched mainnet today? One of our portcos, Union.
Shout out Union.
Let's check out what they're at. I think they launched around 100 mil. I was kind of let down, honestly, but it's kind of a tough day to launch. But it's probably better for the community. This thing could easily run. Yeah, it's at 120 mil. Launched at 240, down a bit, but steadying out. Looks like it's about 20% float. So shout out to Union. They had an incredible campaign leading up to mainnet. Yeah, I mean, that was a successful launch. Another one that launched recently from the portco that we didn't really cover much was Camp. Check how that thing's doing.
Quick question on Union.
It's down a bit today.
How do we feel about one-letter tickers?
Is that 700 mil? Dude, it's pretty bullish, no? Or what do you think?
I don't know. It's something. I think
you
obviously it's pretty good for the ticker SEO,
like
right?
You
just type in one. Yeah, it's just you. You. Who?
Just one letter ticker. Well, you is like the uranium.
Okay.
You. Sign up here, guys. Let's get started.
Yeah, we're gonna get sun up. I think that Hawaii Wi-Fi might be getting some waves going, or maybe it's the music.
I got the Ethernet plugged in.
Yeah. Okay. A little choppy there. Guys behind the scenes. Oh, now I can hear the bass kicking now. Sun has got some walk-up music.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, son. He's coming.
The bass is
I don't know, man. I mean, the new token stuff is it's just not the same anymore. I mean, Plasma is going to come out the gate swinging, though. I think it's trading at like 7 bill pre-market right now. XPL, 71 cents, 72 cents. I mean, this is going to be one of the biggest launches that we've seen in a long time.
That would put it top 100, right?
Yeah. I mean, that would put it in the top like 30.
It's tough, man. I mean, it's real interesting times. Just to get a sense of where these things go post-launch, where the cycle goes from here. Obviously, I mean, I think at the same time we have all of the stablecoin liquidity entering the system. We have so much of that coming on chain. We have a macroeconomic environment that seems to be shaping up, but at the same time, there's so many you would think the president launching a meme coin would be a top signal more than
that was like 7 months ago. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, that's insane. And now you have influencers launching tokens. These are top signals more than the top last cycle. Katy Perry painted her fingernails with XRP, and that ended our entire industry.
All right, we got Sun in the back. Let's get Sun up. Welcome to the show. Sun.
Thanks for having me.
Vaults, talking Veda, talking more. We're going to close your walk-off song. It was a banger EDM song. Good to have you on, Sun. Welcome to the show.
Good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. So first time meeting for Rob, I believe, as well. For me too. Would love to just get an intro about yourself, how you got started in DeFi, where you spend your time, where you are in the world, what's going on over there in Sun's verse.
Yeah, sure thing. I've been building in DeFi for 4 years. I was actually enrolled for a PhD in machine learning in 2021, and I spent all my life doing like academic stuff. And I thought, before I commit myself to 5 years of just kind of the same old publishing papers, why don't I try startups in like a fun industry? A friend of mine was in crypto, so I joined. This was, literally the peak of like 2021 top. I'm sure you guys remember how crazy stuff was. My like second week on the job, I was actually sent to Lisbon to host a boat party. And, after going from that back to a PhD is basically impossible. So I stuck around. It was a project called 𝘗𝘬𝘬𝘬 Finance, Cosmos project. Not sure if you guys.
Zaki,
yeah,
big boy.
Zaki's the guy who basically convinced me not to go do my PhD.
Brought you to the dark side.
2021 ETH Lisbon was quite a whirl. Yeah,
never been the same, honestly.
Well, our previous guest that came on before you was Jacob, the general counsel at Plasma, and he spoke very highly of you. We were talking about Plasma, the L1, and the stablecoin chains, and now Veda, will be participating in the ecosystem. So maybe you could just, you gave us an introduction to Sun, yourself. Maybe you could give us an introduction to Veda and the latest happenings.
Sure. So Veda is the leading vault platform in DeFi. Our basic mission is to bring DeFi yield to the world. There's like a couple of core use cases that have emerged in DeFi. Payments is obviously one of them. There's financing. My view is yield is one of those very, very core use cases. Yield is a human right. That's something I say a lot. We're working really closely with Plasma on a lot of stuff. I cannot speak highly enough of that team. I think a lot of what they've been doing has been validated with literally every single week we see a new, multi-billion-dollar company announcing their own kind of payments chain. So yeah, really excited. They're an example of one of our great partners, but our view is that, if you think about who's going to actually bring millions of users into DeFi, is it going to be DeFi native apps, or is it going to be the places that already have massive distribution and offer financial products and maybe crypto products? Think fintechs like Robinhood, Revolut, Stripe, right? And our view is that vault and yield will be a core part of any financial application experience, not just crypto apps, not just crypto exchanges, but any financial application will offer, starting with stablecoin yields, but maybe things like Bitcoin yields in the future. Our goal is to build a platform to support that for everyone. So yeah, Plasma is great. We're all kind of hunkered down for the launch that's coming up, but it's honestly really exciting times in the space.
Yeah, I think it'd be helpful for just to understand a bit more practically how their pre-deposit campaign was facilitated through Veda. So I understand that they raised like 500 million, I think, and then a billion total, and then you guys were able to like seamlessly bring that into Aave, earn yield on those stable coins through Veda's like trusted security council of moving assets around, earning yield through the vaults. Basically, you guys were managing everything for Plasma's pre-deposit campaign on the stablecoin side. Maybe you could just tell us that story. How does that happen? And then loop in some of the technical side, like how exactly does Veda operate such that you're able to securely, facilitate these types of campaigns and vaults?
Yeah, the first thing I'll say is that Plasma pre-deposit campaign was the craziest launch I've ever not only been a part of, but seen in like my 4 years in DeFi. The first cap raise, or the first like cap opening was 500 million, and it was literally filled within 30 seconds. It was the craziest shit, right? In 30 seconds, you see $500 million pour into this smart contract. I think this is just validation for like the crypto and blockchains as a technology. That ability to form capital that quickly is almost unheard of and unprecedented. Day two, there was another unannounced cap raise, and this time it took like 20 minutes or something to raise the next 500 million. So just a massive, massive launch. What that means is there's $1 billion sitting there today from plasma depositors in a Veda vault that is currently earning yield on Aave. This is one of the many use cases for vaults, right? Like what Plasma wanted was a way to give their community upside in the launch, right? Give them ownership, but also like, we know that airdrops are kind of a dying meta, right? Like if you just throw tokens at someone and hope that they'll stick around, what do people do? They obviously sell, right? They have a life to live. They're getting free money. It makes sense to kind of, go take some of that out. With Plasma, what they've done is there's a cost basis, right? These users and these community members are actually buying in, but not only are they buying in, their capital is actually going to be productive on Plasma mainnet on day one, right? So once the chain goes live, the capital gets withdrawn from Aave on mainnet, it gets bridged over to Plasma and deployed into DeFi on Plasma. So not only will Plasma have $1 billion from us, they have a number of other programs going on. Plasma is going to launch day one with multi-billion-dollar stablecoin TVL, which is just crazy, and it shows you the power of vaults if you have the right story and the right distribution.
So wait, real quick, Rob. So your TVL, your 4 billion in TVL, I think is what you have in the Twitter bio for Veda. It's just like Plasma, basically. I mean,
well, one out of the 4 bill is Plasma.
Okay, one out of the 4. Okay, but there's other multi-billions coming from other parts of the campaign that weren't facilitated by Veda. Understood.
Exactly.
I just think it's important to mention, like, obviously this is great for Plasma because it'll have all this TVL on launch. But this is also taking one of the metas that was really not a positive one, where it was stakers that were getting paid while they had locked tokens, and then they were dumping those rewards, and it was just deflationary pressures on the token. You're flipping that. You're going to deposit into the chain. These investors that have locked tokens are going to be getting yield, but it's not going to be in the native token, and they're not going to dump it. They're just going to be earning this yield. I think this is a much more positive and sustainable way to perform on a similar meta.
Absolutely. There's a lot that I think is being done correctly in this setup. One of those things is exactly what you said. That capital is not extractive on the chain, right? It is being deployed. Like everyone wants to borrow stable coins. It's the most useful asset in the world. More people, it's arguably the only asset that there's universal demand for. So when there's $1 billion sitting in lending protocols and it's cheap to borrow, someone will come and borrow it, right? It might be other vaults that Veda runs. It might be different liquid funds, but someone will be there. And so this is kind of a win-win for everyone, right? The depositors, now that they're Plasma holders and community members and owners, they are incentivized to, stick around and watch the train go. And they're earning real yield from their capital being utilized. So I think it's a really clever and, a mechanism that has not been tried before at scale, but it's one that makes total sense. And I think this is going to be a meta moving forward.
So, Son, you guys have a ton of TVL, something that a lot of teams want, and I'm curious, you've got of this 4 billion in TVL, how much of it are you guys able to capitalize on as revenue for yourselves? And like, how does that work for Veda? Because if I'm not mistaken, Veda is pre-token. Whether there will be a token or not is up to you and the team. But it's very clear right now. If you look at the best performing tokens for the last several months, number one is obviously Hyperliquid in terms of actual utility. I think Pump.Fun is actually going to start to go on a run now because it's just there's only 2 tokens in the whole space that are actually generating millions of dollars of revenue, buying back their token and saying we're going to do this consistently. Veda is in a perspective or in a position where you have the liquidity and there's got to be some way for you guys to generate revenue, take a small percentage off this, and turn this into a sustainable flywheel. How does that work right now? And what is the plans to create that flywheel?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think there's, we are in the revenue meta of DeFi. It's funny that it's even a meta. It's like this kind of should have been the case forever. But What I'll say is we generate revenue today on the order of millions of dollars. Now, if and when there will be a token, I do think there's kind of an art to this. I don't think there's really a scientific way of deciding how much you buy back, right? Hyperliquid, everyone can look at Hyperliquid as an example, but that's like, a very unique case, right? I don't think anyone can do what Hyperliquid has done. But that being said, we are definitely still growth focused. If you actually look on the ground at what's happening with DeFi today, it is absolutely a land grab as we see large enterprises moving on chain, right? Robinhood is launching a chain. Today, it's very timely. Stripe has announced a chain. There's only going to be a few protocols that actually have a value prop that is powerful enough to not just get totally vertically integrated and swallowed, right? I mean, an example of this with Tempo's announcement today, they have a built-in AMM, right? What infrastructure they're using, don't ask me, but I think this is bad news for, the dozens of kind of tier 2 AMMs that exist, right? It's like when you own the distribution and you can just copy the open source software that exists and plug it into your chain and retain those margins, it's bad news for everyone, right? So what we want to do is we are very, very focused on making our platform as feature rich as possible. We want it to be a no-brainer, right? That if you are offering yield products through whatever it is you're an exchange, a wallet, a DeFi protocol, a bank, you should build it on Veda. And in a world where there's trillions on chain, I think revenue comes with that, right? So we're kind of taking a middle road. We're still growth focused, but we do actually generate significant revenue already.
Yeah, interesting. I mean, man, Rob, we talked about this, right? Where like it'd be a pretty messed up world if we spent all these VC dollars the last 10 years building all of this open source technology, everything. We built the groundwork for everybody, and then Stripe, Google, Facebook, and whomever else comes in and is like, yeah, all right, thanks guys. We'll just plug this in. All your little tokens that you guys are playing with right now are, those are just little child's play. We're going to come in and Good Alexander put a tweet about this today. He's like, here, let me read it to you guys. I think it's super, super prevalent, and you guys should both comment on it, which I think is super, super relevant. Is basically like, I can't find it, but he was saying like, look, certainly every L1 having their own chain for their own stable coins is good for existing coins, sarcastically, right? And so it's just kind of, it raises a question of like, what do we do with the current DeFi environment today, knowing that these players are coming in looking to capitalize with their distribution networks tomorrow?
Yeah, Robbie, I'm curious to hear what you think.
I mean, I just think that this is like the L1 thesis all over again. And like we saw it play out in 2017, 2018, and several of those chains are no longer relevant. Stellar Lumens and EOS, like those were going to be the next Ethereum killers. Now it's Tempo and it's ARK, it's these other L1s that are coming in and going to take Ethereum's lunch. I think Ethereum is at a point now where if you look at the stable coins that are on ETH, maybe Stripe, maybe or Tempo, maybe ARK from Circle, right, are going to rival those numbers, especially as trillions come on chain if they don't interact with ETH first. But I think ETH is at the size where we're going to have some deeper form of interoperability, whether these L1s become L2s or there's a more composable layer in between. There's going to be middle layers between these L1s that are going to profit immensely. These existing infrastructure projects, I think whether it's through the token or it's through the business, they're going to monetize pretty nicely. And so I actually think that tweet in the short term, I think is sarcastic, but in the long run, yeah, I do think that these L1s are going to have to leverage the existing infrastructure.
I'll take maybe a philosophical view on this, which is I think DeFi is guaranteed to produce massive amounts of value, right? DeFi is creating a ton of value. Giving billions of dollars back to users that have been disintermediated from the financial system. Now, how much value can be captured is an open question, right? Like all of the software that we've all built,
yes,
we should be happy to some extent, right? It's going into the hands of millions of users. Now, do we get paid for it? That's kind of the open question, right? It's bittersweet in some sense.
Yeah. So when you look at this enshrined AMM, and I'm looking at Matt Huang's post here about Tempo. When you look at this enshrined AMM, payments and stable coins, payments first UX, opt-in privacy, scale, etc. Like, do you feel that Veda would be properly suited to like be a part of that ecosystem? Like, how is like Veda's institutional appeal currently? And perhaps this applies to other DeFi, automated products or AMMs or lending markets. Like, what is Veda's appeal to Tempo, and like, how would you guys interact there?
Yeah, I'll maybe answer this more generally for like, you're an institutional or enterprise customer who has millions of users, tens to hundreds of billions of assets on your platform. Maybe you're building your chain and you're thinking, what sorts of use cases do I want on my chain? Right? We're clearly seeing payments as one of the core use cases. I mean, you got to give Plasma credit. They were the first payments chain, right? And this is, there's a lot to be said about leading versus following, but I think it's amazingly validating that we're seeing all of this interest in this category. So payments is clearly one use case that everyone wants on their chain. This is also justified by fees, right? If you look at the percentage breakdown on where blockchain fees are coming from, a massive amount is coming from like USDT payments. Now, what I think is another core use case that every single chain and every single application will have is yield and on-chain yield, right? So whether that's from lending, from staking, liquidity provisioning, there's new sorts of yield sources. Take Pendle, right, where you're effectively turning points into real cash and creating a marketplace for people to speculate on growth of new projects. I think this is like a universal need that every single chain will have. Then you do the calculus of, okay, I want to offer yield to my users. How do I build this product, right? To some extent, you have to be able to abstract over all of the complexity of DeFi, right? You want battle-tested infrastructure, because the downside of doing something stupid here is not it's a bad product, it's that people lose their money, right? These are the stakes that are at play in DeFi. So Veda is the largest vault provider. We've been doing this for a long time. We've never had a security incident in our vaults. This is the argument for why it makes sense, instead of to build it yourself and take massive amounts of execution risk, use the best in the business, right? Use something that's at billion-dollar scale. That's basically our sales pitch.
Yeah. And are you guys seeing this institutional interest? Like, it looks like you might be in New York or San Francisco.
New York.
One of the two, New York. So I assume you're in the mix, shaking hands, having espresso martinis. What does this look like for you guys? Sorry, that's an inside joke.
It's an inside joke here. It's just, if you're in New York, you're in the mix, you're shaking hands, you're in the arena, sipping espresso martinis. You're the best in the business.
That's right. It's crazy, man. Like, if you asked me a year ago, I would never have imagined we're having some of the conversations that we're having today.
So
like
good.
The caliber of institutions and enterprise and companies that are interested in DeFi and moving on chain is truly unbelievable. It's immensely motivating. So the answer is yes, right? I really think this is the best time ever to be building in DeFi. And over the next year, even, it's coming like imminently. We're going to see millions of users get exposure to DeFi. Hugely validating.
Yeah, it definitely is. Are you guys going to raise again, or are you guys all good there after the coin fund round?
We're always thinking about it. We're pretty much good, but you never know, right? Like what we're doing is the ambition for this. If you really like look ahead over the next couple of years, we want to build Veda like a SaaS platform, right? It sounds boring. It's not very sexy for a DeFi protocol to think like this, but the reality is there is going to be demand from tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of applications and customers for vaults. Every single protocol in DeFi wants a vault today. My view is every financial application in the world will want vaults. So that's a big undertaking, right? To build a platform that can operate at that scale and that level of security. I am imagining it will require more capital than we have today.
Like you said, yield is a basic human right. And it reminds me a lot of that saying, I think it was Einstein that was like, compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. Like, walk us through like that, the philosophy that you're like, how did you arrive at that conclusion? Obviously you've taken it as truth. You've gone and built the yield protocol. It's like, how did you arrive at the philosophy that yield is something so fundamental to, our being?
Yeah. I mean, so there's a product experience that's possible in DeFi today that all of us here totally take for granted, which is you have a liquid savings account that pays something like 5%, and you keep the keys. It's your custody. You see where your money is at all times, and it's fully liquid. You can withdraw whenever you want, weekends, after hours, it doesn't matter. That experience, which again, like a lot of people in DeFi take for granted, is completely magical to people outside of this sphere, right? Especially when you look in things like developing countries where step one is saving and preserving wealth, right? Which this is arguably like a huge part of the Plasma mission and what Tether is doing, right? Allowing people to hold dollars to preserve their wealth. But going beyond that, it's like growing your wealth, right? Actually being able to accrue value and make money with your savings. I think that is the clear next logical step. So that's kind of the philosophical point here. It's that the financial systems that exist in the world today have effectively sidelined a ton of people, and people don't have access to wealth preservation. They don't have access to growing their wealth. And so we're very, very focused on the latter. I think that's what gets us up in the morning.
Talk to us about some of the where some of the TVL is right now. Who's utilizing Veda, which products, which protocols, how, and then maybe you can give us some hints as to how you take this from 4 billion to 40 billion. Like, I'm just curious from your mental perspective. All right, we've got, we're working with X, Y, and Z. We're doing great. Here's how I think we 10x this thing in terms of TVL.
Yeah, sure thing. Our first partner that we launched with was 𝘰𝘪𝘴. And 𝘰𝘪𝘴 is another team that can't say enough positively about them. Mike and 𝘰𝘪𝘴 have been early on a ton of stuff, right? They started, you guys remember how crazy the restaking wars were and EigenLayer. And they are the only ones, in my opinion, who've successfully transitioned from like a restaking project to now they are, effectively financial services, right? They have spending, saving, staking, and top 5 DeFi protocol. So we have over $1 billion in TVL with 𝘰𝘪𝘴. Were our first partner, and I think have done a lot for the category. But we have at this point we have, I think, over 10, $100 million plus customers. So Lombard is a great customer of ours. Mantle, Plasma, of course. Yesterday we launched Lido Earn. So I don't know if you guys saw this. They called it the Golden Goose Vault, but you go to stake.lido.whatever, and there's an Earn tab, and there's a Veda Vault sitting there. This is something that I think has been I've been hoping for this kind of product for years, especially for someone like Lido, who they're 1 and 2 against Aave for the largest DeFi protocol. Massive distribution, right? Massive credibility. So this is the strategy for how we scale. This is also the answer to the question of how we keep growing. You find people who have distribution, who have users, who want to activate that capital, who need yield. You put these products there and they truly grow like wildfire, right? I'll tell you a story for, when we learned that this was the right strategy. Building 𝗗𝗦𝘖, we grinded for like 2.5 years to grow TVL from 0 to 100 million. It was like truly, hand-to-hand combat. Every single depositor was a win, right? We had like a Telegram chat. We'd be like, oh, yes, we got like 100K in deposits. It's huge, right? 2.5 years. We launched with 𝘰𝘪𝘴 with the launch of Veda. They were our first partner. In 3 weeks, we grew from 0 to 400 million in TVL. And it was at that moment that it's clear, like we clearly understood that for vaults as a category, the B2B approach is the right approach.
Wow.
So do you think if you had started with a B2B strategy at 𝗗𝗦𝘖, you could have grew as fast as you've grown Veda?
This is a great question. I actually think the answer is no. I think 𝗗𝗦𝘖 was too early for this strategy. So back then, you talk to Lido, you talk to any other protocol, you say, put a vault, put a yield product in your front end. They would say, absolutely not. It's way too risky, right? We don't want to take that risk. It's crazy. This is what I think was genius about 𝘰𝘪𝘴. They were one of the first people to put that yield product directly in their front end. So yeah, it wasn't even just a strategic thing. I think the market was very, very immature. DeFi was riskier back then, right? We didn't know. I mean, there were way more hacks, way less security practices. So while I think that strategy is the right one, it's also a question of timing, right?
Yeah, I mean, 𝗗𝗦𝘖 was just grinding through the bear market, man. Grinding, just absolutely grinding. It was like one of the bear market runners. Like the token was actually good. Like people were actually hype on it. It's just so hard to get. I mean, yields were so compressed and the demand for DeFi was so low.
Yeah, it's brutal. And honestly, super valuable experience. I learned so much at Sommelier. One thing is Cosmos, right? I know you guys are, dabble in the Cosmos ecosystem now and then. Cosmos is right on so much stuff, right? We're even the stuff we're talking about today, the app chain thesis. Tempo is an app chain, right? Like we're seeing these special purpose chains come out. So there's a lot of like intellectual value that I gained from the Cosmos ecosystem. The challenge is that the user base there is really tough, right? It's very niche. It's very specific. It's a specific culture.
And the UX
I think
has
there are a
just
lot
been
of
so
challenges.
hard to navigate on, like Kepler and Leap Wallet, just the transactions, the bridging, the IBC is just so difficult, man.
Yeah, so it's tough.
Yeah. Are you guys expanding? Do you guys do Solana stuff as well?
We have not formally launched on Solana, but we recently finished audits for our Solana extension for our vault architecture.
Doing
I'm spilling the alpha here.
Yeah, there we go.
I'll give you guys a little alpha. I'll tell you a product that you can build on Veda that you cannot build anywhere else.
Okay.
You can have a stablecoin vault that users you deposit on Ethereum and you earn Solana yields, and you can deposit on Solana and earn Ethereum yields. So this is truly just like merging, unifying chains. It's chain agnostic. I think, and what I can tell you is there's a lot of institutions that want both, right? They want both Ethereum and Solana.
Yes.
And if you're going to win them, you have to be able to support all of the major chains.
They want Bitcoin too.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
Son, give us a quick spiel. Where can we find you guys? How can our community get involved? Where's the best vaults? Where's the best yields? How can we get involved on chain with Veda and support your guys' TVL?
Yeah, check us out on Twitter at Veda_labs. Our website is veda.tech. On that website, you can see a list of most of our vaults, but we're working on it. We don't have access to all of them through our site. But yeah, just follow us on Twitter and keep an eye out because we have some pretty big stuff coming in the next couple months.
Beautiful.
Awesome.
Son, appreciate
Thanks
your
so
time, man. And it's been a fun chat. We'll have to get you on stream when you guys hit 10 billion.
Let's do it. Appreciate you guys.
All right, brother. Be easy, man.
See ya.
Keep drinking those espresso martinis out there.
Shaking hands.
Shaking hands in the mix.
In the arena.
Alrighty, Rob.
Best in the biz.
We going back on some music vibes?
Let's do it. Between guests. We're going to integrate that with the
sir.
stream. I hope our technical production team is
Trillions.
listening behind the scenes. We're onboarding Trillions.
Trillions, my boy. I sent our producer some Pump Fun coin. He's up. He's up 5%.
Really?
He's up. Boys are vibing.
Yeah, Pump Fun is a good one. I don't think we spent enough time talking about Union. Shout out to those guys. Those guys have been building for a long time, and they launched today. They launched mainnet. They launched the token. I do think this ties in nicely with one of the trends that we had talked about earlier. With these alt L1s, you have stablecoin chains launching left and right. I do think interop protocols are poised to do very, very well. Very, very well, because they're essentially going to be in charge of connecting these chains. And like we said, like it's a little distracting. It is a banger though. Like we said, in the short term, I do think that these L1s are going to be somewhat they're going to consolidate a lot of capital into these chains, and it's going to take away from ETH. It's going to take away from some of the existing L2s. But I think interop protocols are the ones that are going to have to solve this. Eventually, we're going to have to unite these chains, make them composable, and that is a problem that interop protocols are bound to solve.
I mean,
Shout out
I just see that those interop protocols are so cutthroat. Like you already see the layer 0 wormhole chain link. Like that is a cutthroat industry. I find it hard to think that there's going to be like a ton of value accruing. I still think like the app layer, lower layer stack is the right way to think about it. The middle is just so hard to differentiate and create an edge. Don't shoot me, boss. Just saying what I think.
I'm trying to rationalize it.
All right, we got Justin in the background, executive director at 𝘗 Foundation. We have not had anybody on from 𝘗 in a while. We're gonna tune down his intro song, get him up here, talk what's going on at 𝘗, institutional, New York City, baby. Welcome to the show, Justin Barlow. What's going on, man?
Hey, how's it going, guys? You hear me all right?
I think we can. Yes, sir. How are you?
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm sitting here in our New York office, watching some folks go by. So let me know if background noise gets too loud, but excited to chat.
Awesome. Well, welcome to the show. I think it's your first time on. We've had a couple guys from Say on before, so our audience is familiar, but they're not as familiar with you. So maybe you could introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about why you got into crypto, what you like about the space, all that good stuff.
Yeah, I've had a pretty interesting journey in the space. So I grew up the son of an entrepreneur and founder in the internet space. So always was very interested in internet companies and software. Started building companies when I was like 12 or 13. Lots of things that I tried out. And really got into crypto really near the end of my high school experience. Had realized that as much as I love tech, I was never going to be a developer. It just wasn't something that was interesting to me, which of course my dad loved. But he, had really instilled this really keen interest in business and finance into me. As soon as I really stumbled upon crypto, it just instantly clicked for me, right? I was like, hey, I've seen all of the stuff that, my family and friends and people around me have been doing in the internet space. I'm really interested in the finance and economic space. And this is like marrying those two worlds, right? And so I've gotten into crypto and very quickly kind of went down the rabbit hole, was increasingly spending more and more time in the space, got into crypto Twitter relatively early and got to see, a number of cycles play out. So joined really the space in 2016 or so, which I guess is at this point, the better part of a decade, which is crazy to say. Was spending more and more time in the space and eventually got the opportunity to interview at a big bank in Wall Street. Went into the bank thinking that my crypto experience would just be interesting background for me to go get a trading job. And what was supposed to be an interview very quickly became them just peppering me with questions about anything and everything you can think about in crypto, right? They were like, how do blockchains work? What happens if this? What happens if that? And by the end of that day, what was supposed to be like a 30-minute interview ended up being like 8 hours of me sitting on the trading desk with a bunch of really senior traders. And they were like, hey, it would be great if, you could come on and maybe do some internship or something like that. But what would be even cooler is if we give you some money and you actually go launch a fund to, trade crypto. Like we all are really interested in this. We don't even know how to connect a ledger or a Trezor at that time was really the device of choice for me to our computers. Like, can you go out and actually start a fund with some of our own personal capital? Wasn't sure how serious they were. I was about 18 at the time, but lo and behold, had gone back to my family's place and they had somehow figured out a way to get in touch with my parents and say, hey, you should take some time off of school and launch a fund. So that was kind of my formal entry into the space, and what went from, a hobby really became a full-time role pretty quickly.
Dude, so
spent a few years doing that.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
What were some of the biggest wins that you had on the fund side?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, at that time, there was Bitcoin, there was Ethereum, and then there was like a whole host of other things that have since largely died.
Yeah. What era is this? Like the 2016, 17, 18
this
era?
This is now 2017, like late 2017.
Yeah.
So you were buying Bitcoin in like the thousands and ETH around like under 100 and stuff?
I wish. No, I mean, there was a small fund, right? I mean, keep in mind, was still 18 at the time, but was able to get it at one point to, a multi-million-dollar AUM. And a lot of it was relatively straightforward, right? It was just like momentum trading, things like Bitcoin and Ethereum. It was, at the time, the equivalent of what kind of crypto VC has become today, which is like picking early altcoins and riding the waves there. And a lot of it was just all kind of centered around this sort of information asymmetry that you got from being early to crypto Twitter, right? Like at that time, it was a super small community. Mm-hmm. And so, ran that for a few years, then came kind of crypto winter. I was still at that time, 18, 19. I was like, hey, I'm at home. There's not much going on in the space. I think I can go back to school, complete the degree in case crypto just falls apart entirely. And in the meantime, keep running this fund on the side, right? So that's what I did. I went back to school at USC in LA, had a great experience, met some great people, did some awesome networking, and studied economics there and finance and sort of law as well. Did some internships at places in the TradFi world, and was always just kind of ended up becoming the crypto guy, right? So worked at Millennium Management here in New York, one of the big quant hedge funds, and the endowment over at USC, my alma mater. And no matter what, kind of conversation came up, it was always like, hey, this is cool, but it'd be way cooler if they tokenize this, or if they brought onto blockchain rails, or if they used 24/7 settlement, or whatever it may be, right? And so realized that I really needed to dive back, full time and really just take that swing. And if the market didn't materialize, it didn't materialize, and thankfully it did. And so joined the 𝘗𝗦, which is sort of one of the early crypto research companies, building effectively like a Bloomberg terminal, but for crypto. Was one of the sort of early employees over there, and just wrote long form research. Think like 20, 30, 40 page research papers on things like the Polygon ecosystem and Axie Infinity and tokenomics, and you name it. Was in my time there when I first encountered Solana. And so got in touch with the team over there, was originally going to put together a piece on Solana. Ended up being right around the time when they were looking to bring on some more folks, and ended up making the move over to Solana back in, I think it was 2021. Did some other stuff in between, joining the 𝘗𝗦 and Solana, but I would say that was probably the biggest move that I had personally made in my career, right? Jumping from more of the research trading side over to the operator side, through Solana as one of the earlier folks on that side. Spent about 2.5 years over there, eventually helping to join and build out Solana Ventures, which was our investment arm, investing in things like Phantom and Magic Eden and Tensor and STEPN and you name it. And so, really had a lot of great times over there and learned a ton about building high throughput ecosystems. Got the opportunity just over 1.5 years ago now to jump over to 𝘳 at a similar stage, candidly, to when I joined the Solana ecosystem, and saw a great opportunity to, kind of run it back, build another ecosystem from the early stages, but this time be able to do it on the EVM side.
So Solana, you guys obviously made a ton of investments. You did quite well. The ecosystem is thriving. Do you see similarities between 𝘳 and Solana? If so, like, what are those similarities? And like, maybe you could compare and contrast. How is this ecosystem development different or similar from that of Solana?
Yeah, I mean, there's a ton of similarities. If you really take a step back and think about the core sort of pitch for 𝘳, it really is kind of combining the best of Solana and Ethereum. So the performance, right? So the speed, the low fees of Solana, with the tooling and infra and mindshare and security of the EVM. And so what that means today is that 𝘳 is extremely high throughput. It is fully EVM compatible, and has fees just about as low, if not lower, than any other chain on the market. And so a lot of similarities and overlap in terms of the types of applications that work well on 𝘳, in terms of the investors in the ecosystem, right? And in terms of the vision for, where blockchain tech can go.
Got it. And I'm curious, as far as like the, what would you say is like kind of the unique differentiator? Obviously speed, cost, and security are going to be like the blockchain trilemma here. But then you go and you see, okay, like, once you've sort of picked your spot on that trilemma, you start to innovate across a few different dimensions. Maybe it's creative financial engineering. You got the ETF now, 𝘳 has the ETF. You got, these different treasury companies that are now going, these DATs. And you're getting more and more creative on the product side, the blockchain, as well as kind of the more traditional offerings. Is 𝘳 playing more in one of these sandboxes than others? And generally, like, what is the direction here and the competitive advantage that 𝘳 has versus some of the other L1s that are out there?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think if you think about blockchain products today, with the exception of a select few, the vast majority are worse by a fair amount, or at least worse by a little bit than their centralized counterpart, right? And I don't think that's necessarily a hot take, right? If you go to, the average trading firm and you ask them like, hey, where do you trade mostly? Is it Uniswap, or is it DYDX, or is it something like Binance, right? Most of them are going to say Binance. And a lot of that comes down to things like latency, it comes down to cost, reliability, et cetera. What I think Say really stands out is that we, in the ecosystem, have truly prioritized end user experience and have a very sort of pragmatic approach to how people in the ecosystem build products, right? And the core idea here is like, look, if this is remarkably worse than the competing product in Web 2, getting this to be something with actual traction outside of crypto is going to be really difficult, if not impossible, right? And so, a great example that I like to call up is like a product like Overheard on Say. A lot of people have heard me talk about this product a lot. It's a team that I'm really excited about. They are building a anonymous social network that's location based, and it is very similar to a product that many of us grew up using, which was Yik-Yak, right? It was a anonymous social app, right? Got super viral, got to I think 200 million downloads, raised like $70 million from Sequoia, and had a lot of success, but ultimately really had struggles later on around things like retention and moderation, right? Could never figure out how do you kind of keep people engaged past like the initial dopamine rush, and how do you moderate an app that has tens of millions, hundreds of millions of users when people are posting all kinds of things, right? And I think that's why you guys laughed there, right? Because I think we all remember what some of those posts look like if you were a user of the app.
Yeah.
And so what's amazing about Say is the team behind Overheard has been able to build a product that is very similar to something like Yik-Yak in terms of the good parts of the app, right? The things that people loved about it, but yet have really solved for the issues that plagued Yik-Yak. They found that they can incentivize users, have more retention if they have things like microtransactions enabled, where people can actually be paid for their engagement on the app, right? So, hey, I post some awesome piece of content. It's not just people upvoting it and me being excited because I got an upvote, but I can actually get paid for that because people are spending time on it, right? They're looking at the app and looking at my posts. And what that means is that there's ad revenue to be generated, right? Similarly for moderation, there's going to be a point where they're able to have moderation be something that's incentivized through microtransactions as well, right? And all of this is happening on, Say, in USDC. There's no like Ponzi-nomics going on. It really is pretty simple. It's, hey, you have something you post, there's ad revenue associated with that post, and now you're getting paid out.
Yeah.
When I was speaking to that founder in the early days, he said, look, there's really no way we could have built this on any other chain because I would either have to pay a ton of money, right, for each post, which means I couldn't actually subsidize the transactions on behalf of the people posting. And thus you need to like deposit Ethereum into the app, and it creates all this clunkiness where like the average high schooler is just never going to pick it up, right? Or I was going to post and it's going to take too long to actually post, which means that there's no way to have this be on chain, right? And if it was on chain, it'd take like 5 seconds for it to post, and that doesn't feel like an experience we're all used to in 2025, where you click go and all of a sudden everything's instant, right?
Yeah.
Like you post a TikTok, you post an Instagram, it goes up in a second, right? It's not taking 10 seconds, 20 seconds, multiple minutes. And so they came over and built this app, on Say, that's live today on the App Store. And the vast majority of the users have no idea it's a crypto app.
Beautiful.
They don't even know what crypto is. And that's where I think we get to this really exciting spot where crypto can actually reach the billion user number that we've all been talking about for years in the space, right?
Yeah. So last time we had spoke to Jay on the Rollup was in January of 2024. So it's been a while. And you guys were in the middle of transitioning to the EVM compatibility. I think you guys got a lot of pushback for that. Seems like it was the right move. I think you guys have had a lot more TVL come in as a result of that. Tons of new wallets, 60 million plus. I think people put a lot of flack around the active addresses in crypto, but it clearly worked. And now you're describing this Overheard app. Is that where a lot of these users are coming from? Like apps like this, maybe like walk us through where some of these apps, like where these users are coming from, if it's Overheard or others, you know, and how you see the development of Say kind of going into being a, you know, a top chain based on users, because I think a lot of people push back on Say as just being another L1 that's unnecessary. People are always like, oh, why do we need another L1, just another general purpose chain? Maybe you could answer that as to where some of these users are coming from, what's unique about it. Yeah.
Yeah, what's amazing is, again, most of the users today on the chain, and I think last time I checked, we had something like 16 million monthly actives, which makes us the most used EVM chain, at least I think it was according to Dapp Radar. Most of these users have no idea they're even using crypto. What that means is you sign up for an app. A lot of them right now are games. So we've like become a massive gaming chain at this point, like dwarfing all the other sort of established names in the space. You download an app, you sign up for that app with your username and password or your Google account or your Facebook, right? You get airdropped enough tokens where you can make basically unlimited transactions given how cheap Say is to use. And you can play this game or use this social network like an Overheard without really understanding or knowing crypto is part of it at all. And I think that is really the powerful thing. And the interesting thing about Say is, like, you know, crypto Twitter is very much an echo chamber, right? Like we all know that there's like a very small relative number of folks that are really doing kind of all the talking on crypto Twitter. But the world is so much bigger than that. And so, you know, we're seeing a ton of activity in, you know, places like Southeast Asia, games that had 5-10 million downloads on the Google Play Store, on the iOS Store, integrated Say in the back end, and now are giving users rewards in USDC or their native token, right? And this has been like a massive shift from what I think, you know, games and social media networks and other consumer apps have looked like in the past, where you needed to understand crypto. You needed to have your own crypto to start. You needed to have a wallet, right? All of these things that have been like kind of these friction points are now like basically erased, right? And it's really only possible if the chain is fast enough that the user experience isn't degraded by integrating blockchain, and the chain is cheap enough that the average user doesn't have to come with their own tokens to pay for gas. And so, yeah, I mean, seeing massive growth in these consumer areas. And then you hinted on it before, but DeFi as well, right? So the next step of that is, okay, now you have all these users on chain. Now they might have some money sitting in their wallet, right? Some Say or some USDC or some ETH, whatever it may be. And eventually they're going to get curious and want to do other things with it, right? Some of them may just go and bridge off chain, but an increasing number of them are going to want to go and lend those tokens. Maybe they want to borrow against them to take out, you know, to get USDC in return. You know, maybe they want to trade them or hedge their position or whatever it may be, right? And so all of that is really flowing into a really strong, organically growing DeFi ecosystem, where we've seen something like 100x in TVL over the last, I think, 12 or 13 months. And a lot of that being driven by all these new users coming to the chain and interacting with crypto for the very first time. I think it's always great when you can really grow the pie for everyone. It's one thing to just be like, hey, we're the hot chain today, and now the users from X and Y chain are just rotating over and they'll be gone tomorrow. But really trying to like bring net new users into the space that maybe have never touched crypto before, I think is something that is really powerful and ultimately is how we all win.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that combined with some of the institutional work that I think the entire space is getting its grip of, Say seems to be positioned for that as well. I see that one of the Securitized co-founders, Jamie Finn, joined the Say Development Foundation as an advisor. And, you know, obviously you guys, like many others, have had some ETF filings. You know, I'm curious on the ETF side, like, is the Say ETF going to pass? Like, is the Pengu ETF going to pass? Will we see a Dogecoin ETF? Will we see Injective get an ETF? There's a lot of these Canary and 21 Shares ETFs out there. We actually have Eric Chen and Canary CEO on tomorrow coming on. I'm just curious, what's your take on these kind of crypto token ETFs? You know, will we see these pass? What's been the latest?
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't have any sort of advanced insight there. I think the Canary guys are probably going to have much more insight than I do. But I mean, if you just take a look back at the precedent here, right, there was a long time where, you know, if I think back to, you know, maybe 2018, 2019, when this really started being something people talk about, just thought of a Bitcoin ETF seemed impossible, right? It was just like, hey, like Bitcoin ETF, like the promised land, right? And then lo and behold, now we're a few years later, and Bitcoin ETFs are a massive piece of the market. You have the biggest players in traditional finance launching these things, getting involved, recommending it to clients, et cetera. Now you saw a similar effect with Ethereum, right? Now you're seeing all these things around the DATs as well. So I think, there's really only one direction which this goes. How long it takes to get, some of these altcoin ETFs over the finish line is anyone's guess. But I think inevitably, if you think in sort of like, longer terms, we're going to see, all of these relevant products, find some way to get approved, whether it's in the US or and increase access for retail customers as well.
Yeah. Well, Justin, man, I appreciate your time and coming on and sharing some of the latest with Say. I know you guys have a sick podcast studio out there. Might have to jump in there sometime soon and run it up. Otherwise, we'll be hosting some events in New York City around SmartCon in November, and would love to see you out there, man.
Appreciate it. And yeah, would always love to have you guys out here. Thanks for having me on.
Man. Cheers, and keep up the good work, brother. Alrighty, boss. Guys, that is Say, that is Justin. That is the state of some of the ETFs, the Say EVM, and some of the work that they're doing over there. Rob, welcome back.
I remember when.
What do you remember?
Our next guest came to a podcast in a cloak.
He did. It was in New York City.
It was in New York City. He showed up like a cult leader.
This is about to be really funny and silly.
This is gonna be
I'm gonna ask him what's going on. Like, why is our investment not pumping?
Okay.
You guys are partnering with Uber. What happened to that? We're gonna grill him.
If you're a C-suite executive at a financial institution, don't watch this next segment.
No, I think they're actually pretty well positioned somehow. I'm super bullish on their integrations with some of like these big companies.
I remember
we got Burnt Banksy.
Burnt on NASDAQ.
I would love to see Burnt on NASDAQ in a club.
He was there, I believe.
He was there. He was there. Let's get him up.
I was dumbfounded. And now he's on the Rollup TV. Wow, what a change up. Here we go. Burnt, welcome to the show. You got the new setup. Everything's ready for you. You're here. Welcome.
We did it. We did it, boys.
Burnt, what's happening to my bags? Why are my bags not pumping?
I mean, you just got to believe in yourself. And really, at the end of the day, all dreams are going to come true.
Okay. Yeah. All right. That's all I needed to know.
What do you believe, Burnt? What do you believe in? What are some of your most strongly held beliefs?
Strongly held beliefs? Oh,
yes.
geez. I really hate people who are slow walkers. I just think that you got to get out of the way.
Spoken like a true New Yorker.
Honestly, yeah.
Well, Burnt,
in the spot.
It's good to have you, man. For those who are new to XION, to what you guys are building, would love to get a progress update, man. What is the state of affairs over there? What are you guys architecting? And yeah, man, let's have some fun.
Things are going great. I think that we've gone past this chain abstraction concept. We've abstracted crypto, come to a conclusion of what is it good for, and are in the process of trying to answer that right now. Keep it short and sweet. I'm 100,000 daily actives, contracts with Uber, working with Nike and about 130 other brands. Can go into that, but probably will at some point.
Yeah.
Trying to make crypto usable and prove everything.
So tell us, what do you have cooking with some of these larger brands? You're working with Uber, you're working with Nike. Is the nature of the partnership the same throughout all of these brands? And if so, what is? Otherwise, what are some of the nuances?
I mean, some of them are just like technical. I think I can go into Uber, which we've kind of talked about before, but that expands a lot once you had initial success. But Uber, very easy. Proving everything on the internet. We can get into zk-TLS and how this works, but who cares? Proving that top Lyft riders are top Lyft riders, and if you're a top Lyft rider, Uber will pay you to swap over to Uber. The only way you can do this is with crypto. Similar with Nike and Strava, targeting Strava users in local areas. So who runs is pretty big information for Nike.
So it's about vampire attacking these things.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, we're vampire attacking Web 2. I'm told not to say that because we don't want to be combative, but yeah, that work too well with me.
And what's the value accrual mechanism like after you help Uber, call it whatever you want,
Yeah.
acquire some of Lyft's top-rated customers? How does that value accrue back to XION?
Yeah, it really depends. I mean, there's like the pretty basic method, which is transactions, and every time one of these things are proven or a transaction is sent, like Uber sending money on chain to any of the people who are actually doing this stuff, that's kind of one of the main ones. And then all of that goes back to buying and burning the XION token.
Buying and burning the XION token. Do you have any insight into or data as to like how much buy and burns you guys have done up?
That's a great question. I don't know, and I apologize. I can get that information though.
No, all good. So you guys put something out that you guys are saying that you're thinking about this project in terms of ages.
Yeah,
like ages, like almost like chapters of a book or scenes in a movie, and you kind of put as like the age of proofs, then you're going into the age of unicorns.
Yeah.
What is this about?
I think that we've been building for 4 years now, and like the way we describe it at XION, right? It's like you had the age of burning, which was a guerrilla marketing tactic of effectively buying a Banksy, burning it, and breaking pretty much all the NFT records, then trying to recreate that on Solana actually, and realizing that they needed to be solved on a protocol level, so needed to abstract all of the crypto away. And I think this is probably the last time that we spoke, was like that age of abstraction, which is like, dude, we actually can't build products in this industry until all crypto is completely disappeared. I think now that you're there, you then had this like interesting conundrum of, if you remove the crypto from everything, most of the projects that you look around, the value purely exists in the fact that they are a crypto company. Pretty similar with like what you're kind of starting to see with AI, where you're just writing off of a tech narrative. So where is that inherent value? And the answer to that is proofs. And so you have this concept of the age of proofs, which is, let's prove everything on the internet, whether you're a Lyft rider, whether you have tickets to a concert, money in your bank account, real estate, etc. It doesn't really matter. The real concept of crypto, without all the ruined jargon and buzzwords, is just proving everything. And then we have this kind of concept of the unicorn of unicorns, where now we're facilitating projects to build with this and become unicorns themselves, which is really exciting.
Okay, so crypto is in its proving era. I think that is something that our audience would generally agree with. What is your proving? We've also had conversations with provers, the different ZK VMs. We've had conversations with some of the ZK TLS projects, building on EigenLayer. So all across the docket, pretty familiar with ZK. What is your proving stack over at XION?
It really, really depends. Like you talk about everything that you're proving. Like, we're not trying to focus on one thing. We're trying to focus on everything. So like Reclaim, we work with really, really closely. We're also very close to the Opacity team, and we do a lot of work in ZK TLS. And, a lot of that really just depends on the exact proofs that you need. And I think that like where we stand is we're pretty agnostic as it relates to the tech stack. But like, if you want to prove, like proving financial data on chain is a different kind of proof than like proving that you own art. And then that's different than proving that, non-on-chain data such as, Uber status and things like that. So I think kind of looking at this from like an agnostic point of view, but of course working with Reclaim, working with a bunch of these guys, to just try to bring all of this under the umbrella of like, we're not really selling the technical complexities. You tell us what we need, and that's kind of it. Like, one of the big projects we're working on is status matching for airlines. So I'm not gonna, we've been kind of talking to a few airlines, but they don't really care how it's actually done. But you want to prove to Delta that you're a JetBlue member with status on JetBlue. That's valuable to them, and it doesn't really matter how you do that.
Okay, so a lot of your work is actually going out and not really applicable to like crypto Twitter or crypto users.
Yeah. I mean, unfortunately, yeah. But there's like 12 of them.
Yeah, there are. There literally are. Yeah.
And so it almost, just kind of piggybacking on that, it sounds like this is like an interop protocol for Web 2 companies that are siloed. Like obviously Uber and Lyft do not currently interact. Their databases, their membership identities are not, they're not composable with one another. Same thing with Delta, JetBlue, DoorDash, and Uber Eats, all of these things, right? And so you're choosing to connect these databases, and by bringing both of those worlds together, you kind of effectively create this 𝘂𝘗𝘗 where it's kind of like this the Schelling point of all of them. And you're doing that just with the best technology that you have available to you, which is ZK.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you nailed it, Robbie.
All right. Well, great talk.
Yeah.
Fun to have you on.
We'll see you next time.
Yeah, great. Good job, guys. That was a lot of fun. Thank you. I'm like 6 minutes in. I'm like, wow, we haven't gone completely off the rails yet. Like, what's going on?
Yeah. All right.
So what's coming up? So what's coming up next? You got Delta, JetBlue. Like, what other industry? Without you don't want to disclose partnerships before they're live. But what other industries are you targeting?
Geez. I mean, did you guys have 𝘪𝑚 on here? I feel like we've definitely talked about 𝘪𝑚.
Yes. Okay.
They're one of our flagships, and they are doing marketing, which then pretty much allows for their tentacles to be in everything. There's a lot of really cool ones. A lot of I'm a big fan of having fun and like doing really dumb things, as you guys probably know. So I think that there's a lot of fun to be had with dating apps. Being able to prove how much money you make is always so much fun. Being able to prove really, really dumb things is a lot of fun for me. But then, working with like things that you can do with passports in different countries, especially like corrupt countries where, you want to prove that you're an actual citizen of that country, but you don't want to expose who you are. There's a lot of aspects like this. And that's, unfortunately or fortunately, I guess you kind of nailed it earlier, which is like the users of what we build are not really crypto users. It's just kind of like these really hyper localized markets where if you end up using those applications, you can kind of do that. But for us, it's like we're not building, Hyperliquid, but for, JetBlue.
Yeah. Okay. So, Bernd, what's the latest in the community, man? How is the Warriors tribe of XION guys? They used to absolutely rip me a new one on Twitter, but they haven't been doing that much recently.
We can get back to that, Andy, if you'd want.
No, I think you lost your power. I think you lost your community. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think they respect you anymore, man.
I would like a tweet after this because I had to calm so many people down because especially after the last time, and I remember I think the last time we had an interview, I think you literally stormed off because that's how much I pissed you off, which is awesome. Like, I'm so happy we're here and we're back.
Wait, I don't remember this. Could you?
Yeah, no, this guy left the group chat.
Well, I left the group chat totally. I'm
in the group chat. I saw Bernd's evacuation.
I was just like, let me know when you because I wanted to come on for so long, and you guys are taking your sweet time, and I was like, you know what, just let me know when you'll have me on. And then we finally scheduled it, and I'm like, all right, good to see that you guys came to your senses.
No, but I think you stormed off because Andy stormed off.
No. I'm talking the Andy storm. I showed up to the interview with like a freaking cape on, and I was answering absolute nonsense. And Andy was just. This is the first time that I met Andy in person, and he was so sick of me. And I fully understand why. I was a nightmare.
It was funny.
It was funny.
But I just think that like you're deflecting now. Like, I'm saying that you have lost the cult leadership of your community and you need to bring it back.
Okay. I will take that. I will.
How will you bring it back? I mean, where are the burnt maxis running around? I'm looking for them, sir.
I mean, we're doing pretty solid on Cato. I mean, I honestly I know we've been posting a lot of Cato stats. Like, we're pretty solid on the mindshare, higher than we've actually ever been. I think like we're consistently 2 to 3 times higher in mindshare than we were on the day of TGE, which is pretty exciting. I think unfortunately they're not as aggressive, which we could change. I think you know what it is. I also I think I was in a point last year where I was like screaming to crypto people why crypto sucked and getting really aggressive about chain abstraction, needing to do that. And then I think that we ended up getting a lot of projects that we didn't really not I don't want to say we didn't really care about, but it's like I don't want to build another DEX. I don't want to build another NFT marketplace. I want to build pilots for hotels and casinos to use. And that's really exciting for me. And so having an army to just scream at other interop protocols, as fun as it actually is, really wasn't that beneficial. It was fun though. I had a great time doing it.
Yeah, I mean, that whole infra narrative cycle has really died down.
Yeah. It really has, but I think that comes with solution too, right? The issue with that chain abstraction was that the scope of it was really, really small, but also vague at the same time. Like a lot of it was what bridging was. Plus, we're in a weird kind of bear market, like an altcoin bear market, where you of course have like your top dogs that are getting the attention, which will then cycle into altcoins. But it was a real bear market back then where people were actually solving real problems. I think part of that silence comes with them actually being solved. Some of it comes with the money not flowing to interop and flowing to like these big L1s. And then I think, I think a lot of that was just scope being tacked on to each other.
So, Bert, putting altcoin bear market aside, token price aside, is the business growing? Is revenue up? What's the higher customers? Is it would you say the token price is somewhat detached from the business operations?
Yeah, totally. And I think that's I can't really talk too much about token price. It's one of these things, Andy, to answer your question, I've realized I have no effect on token price. I can just build the best goddamn company in the world and actually build a really, really solid crypto company.
Well, Bert, can I push back on that a little bit? Because we do have projects out there that are buying back their tokens, and maybe they're burning it, maybe they're just doing buybacks. So though I would, that is real buying pressure. There is a real effect that, those revenues or those business operations have on tokens. And so when you say you don't have an effect on token price, maybe the talk doesn't, but
the talk does. But that's exactly what I mean, right? The best thing that I could do is build the best company with incredible revenues. And the thing about Uber and Nike is their slow revenue conversions, right? We launched in December, and these things do take a while to kind of convert. I agree with you completely, and I think that there's the scope of what I can do of just community being at the leading of that. But yeah, no, I agree with you, and then I think that we're kind of aligned on that of the only thing that I could do is just build a really great company.
Yep. I think so too.
Has the team changed? Has the operation changed? I know you guys are in New York. What's the latest on the team side of things?
We grew a lot. I mean, we just had about a bit of the team. We had this old CMO of Cardano join us, which has been really exciting. And he brought in a couple people who used to be Cardano guys. I would say that actually, hilariously, most of our engineering hires have been ZK integration engineers, DevRel, and then a couple of protocol engineers. But those are pretty much. I mean, I think last time it wasn't too different. You guys still talk to Jean on a daily basis, and he's an absolute machine. Yeah, cool. No, just curious. I mean, it just feels like the space is moving so fast. I don't know how. I don't know how you feel about XION's relevance or XION's state of affairs, token, product, etc. But it feels like there's so much happening right now. I don't know. I can imagine that being a founder in this current era is easily the most difficult time, just because of the lack of attention on different ideas, as well as just all of the happening at once. But then also it's a very good time to be building in the space and being a founder. I mean, I don't know how your journey has been evolving, but I imagine you've been going through kind of ebbs and flows of different feelings with how the project is evolving. But it seems like the steady kind of linear growth happening, is at least providing this kind of float for revenues, for morale, for efforts. And so I imagine that if the token price starts to go up, then things feel better. But I'm not sure. I don't know about that. Maybe, but I think that I've been doing this for a very, very long time. This is not my first rodeo. I've been a degen. I've been, I guess, I have a collar on my shirt now. That's disgusting. And I think when you treat it like an actual adult startup, you have different metrics. We start our all hands. Imagine if you started your all hands and you're all right, what's the token price at? You would be pretty depressed. And then, I've seen a lot of companies fail because they equate success to token price. And then the engineering team is just extremely demotivated, because you could be doing absolutely nothing from an engineering team, having that token rip and be well, what am I good for? Right. And so I think being able to have these KPIs, which for us is top 2 ecosystem projects, and we start every all hands with, what does that onboarding process look like? How many projects are we getting into the funnel? And we have a grading system, which is just, if there's 30 dexes, we're like, please get the hell out of my face. I don't care.
What are some of the top ecosystem projects now? Maybe give them a shout out. Tell us what they're all about.
Yeah, I mean, RNOS is probably, I would gotta say, our flagship. I love these guys, and I will always give a chance to talk about it. We got God's Legacy, which is a really cool game. I think that's coming out actually pretty soon. That'll actually be a lot of fun, and we're actually going to be doing some community stuff around that. So definitely stay tuned on that. You got Cash, which is really interesting. I'm not going to say that I'm bearish on prediction markets, but I think that I don't like how they exist in their current setting, which is just like pure like a horse bet in a way. And so these guys are like socially embedded. It's really exciting kind of watch. And then we're going to be getting credit card and debit card throughout the chain very, very soon. And then the ability to kind of spin off into a debit card. So being able to socially embed and then, being able to socially embed and then pay out on debit card or pay in with credit card. And that's my dream. And I think that's kind of like, I know we talked about these ages thing, which I don't know if anyone actually really cares about. But I think once we get that in, that's like the last thing that we need to do, because now there's absolutely no mention of crypto. And like to the point earlier of keeping like people motivated, like we had a sprint this last weekend because we were building. I don't know if I can really talk about this too much, but we were building a demo for an airline for them that reached out effectively. And like that keeps people motivated. It's like these are real names and like real projects that we can work on, and really, really exciting stuff. So it's like trying a lot of things. Probably I hope to fail. Like I hope we're doing so much shit that not all of it works, and we get a lot more.
Well, what's your BD strategy like in the pipeline that you've put together? Because I think a lot of crypto companies are oftentimes looking to break out of the echo chamber, break out of the bubble. You guys have done that, and sometimes just getting in front of a non-crypto company, be it a big Web2, a big airline, big casino, just being the company that is face-to-face with those guys, building those demos, that's a win in and of itself. Obviously, you want to capitalize on that, but what is the BD strategy that gets you there in the first place?
It's going to sound really lame, but it's have something to sell. And like, I mean that not jokingly, where we came for a while, and once we made crypto disappear, we genuinely had a really hard time defining the value of crypto, especially to Web2, which is, it's decentralized. You don't have to store your data. It's like none of these things are actual benefits to Web2 companies. That's not. And then even bringing on the CMO of Cardano, it was like, not to say that some of these were a joke, but it's just like, put this on chain because marketing and like that, or like we pay you a lot of money and you pay. That's how you end up paying Starbucks $40 million. Or you could go to Starbucks and be like, hey, Blank Street Coffee's stealing all your customers. Why don't we just get a way for you to figure out who their top spenders are and then bring them over to Starbucks? It's like, great, that's a value.
If I'm like a Web2 corporation that is looking to get access to my competitors' sales and data, like how much do I have to pay for that?
I mean, it's opt-in, right? Like it's not, we don't just give you a list of saying, here are all of your top competitors, right? It's, Uber is good. Like I give the example of Uber and Lyft because that's probably like the most easy direct example, but you need to like want to be paid by Uber to sign into Lyft to prove them that you're switching over to Uber. And there's other, I don't want to get too specific on some of the other contracts, but like there's exchanges where this is going to happen. There's a lot of places where this is going to happen. And that's like one angle to it. Similar with, let's say, like some of the status airline stuff, which is like, if I'm flying Air China pretty regularly, but then I'm moving to London, like I kind of want like British Air status because I'm not flying Air China as much. And, British Airways is going to want that. I'm going to want that. And it ends up being this concept of like proving it so that you can get something, which has flipped a lot of dynamics on its face.
And so that user flow is that like you guys would have a relationship with British Airways, and then how would they know to reach out to this new customer?
You're saying British Airways would reach out?
Like how do you make the connection between this company that they don't know that the customer exists, right?
Yeah.
And so there needs to be a connection established between that customer and the new company so that they can migrate, but the company doesn't know they exist? Is it the customer that's reaching out to the company?
In a way, it's the customer that's reaching out to, and so it's like this was actually, it's funny, like this was an idea before it was effectively reached out to us. This was an idea for an internal team hackathon because our CTO flies a lot and ran into the same situation. And the way that it's actually proven status matching is you need to screenshot. And so he's like, yeah, I've, you know, for a friend, screenshotted and altered like a bunch of these because that's how it's done. So it's in the like best of a lot of people, most, you know, to be able to do this and actually prove it. Plus you have like GDPR regulations, which says you can't store it. But if you want to have all these things, now we can like talk about like this layer above where we can get all of these data points and have this like verifiable information graph, which is very, very cool.
Yeah, I can imagine like Spotify, Apple Music. You know,
yeah, we were trying to build, except the Spotify API kind of sucks. Spotify for this kind of sucks. But we wanted to build, because we thought this would be brilliant. We wanted to build like who's the #1 Taylor Swift fan in the world. And you know how many people would like, you laugh, but like, you know how many people would gladly give that information?
Yes.
They would fight tooth and nail to be at the top of that leaderboard.
And think of how much like people like Taylor Swift would pay for that. Or think of like, you look at it, and now bring that concept to freaking anything in the world. And that's going to be, you know, the next time, Andy, we're on this. We're going to
is when you're going to bring Taylor Swift on the
I'm going to
show?
be like, yeah, maybe I'll come on, Andy. I go, maybe.
Oh boy.
Big exciting.
Someone's going to leave the group chat again.
It won't. Yeah, it'll be me. Just kidding.
Bernd, where is XION in 6 months?
Dude, XION in 6 months is in more Web 2 companies than you've seen in this entire industry. And I think that, you know, we've always had the ethos of being behind the scenes and powering a lot of these things, but you're going to see it's going to be absolutely insane. And I don't want to say XION's going to be a household name, but I think you're going to recognize the logo. Yeah.
Well, Bernd, that's the main question that I wanted to kind of close off on. Rob, did you have anything else to just kind of wrap us up here on the main points of what's coming up?
Maybe just the last question, like, you know, this feels very different, certainly from chain abstraction, and maybe very different from the original thesis that you guys pitched to VCs when you were raising capital. Like, is this, what was the thesis when you guys were pitching? Was it this?
It was, you know what it was? I will say it really genuinely has been the same. I will say, even from the burning of the Banksy, it has been the same, which was crypto. Like, I want people to use crypto. And so you talk about, you know, that age of abstraction, things, you know, et cetera. But it's like, we tried building this. We thought the issue was on the application level because I wanted people to make NFTs and be able to find an NFT artist anywhere in the world, but it was absolutely impossible. And so we built on the protocol level, and effectively we're like, we want to make this usable. And I would say, like, where we are now, it's not necessarily different. It's just kind of an evolution, which is we want to make crypto usable, but we don't want to just jam crypto in people's faces. We want to give them benefits, not rely on the technology that underlies it, because that's just not sustainable, right? Like, and you see this through every tech rise and fall. You're going to get more money coming into crypto because it's crypto. Same thing happened with AI. Then you're going to realize very, very quickly that that narrative dries up and the benefits are kind of wiped away. But I've always believed in crypto ever since I started, and I truly believe in what I'm building. And I think the Burnt community, who will be harassing Andy after this, I must say, genuinely believe in what we're building. And I think that it's just a continuation and an extension of that original vision, but haven't really diverged at any point.
It's an evolution. Pure infrastructure guy, Burnt Banksy.
Nailed it.
And he's on mute. He's already being harassed by the Burnt.
I look forward to being harassed. Get me harassed.
All right,
I'm ready.
You hear that, everyone? I'm already. It's funny. Like, I have my Telegram open for the Inner Syndicate, and I have like 5 people who are like, the Rollup has blocked you. I'm like, maybe that's why it's quiet, Andy.
Wow, that's tough. Ouch. Ouch.
No, listen, I know we joke, but I really appreciate you guys. Like, I really love what you guys are doing. I've seen you guys coming from like not that much to where you are today. You guys got one of the best shows in the game. You guys are absolutely crushing it. And like, I appreciate you for having me on. I know I can be a nightmare a lot of the times, but I'm really happy to see what you guys have done. It really makes me so freaking happy.
Hey, man.
Appreciate
Thanks,
you, brother.
man.
Hell yeah.
You keep it up. Next time I see you, you'll be in a cape, all right?
Absolutely. I'll do it just for you.
All righty, boss
Super
man.
burnt.
See you soon.
Bye, guys.
Cheers,
All righty.
brother.
Vibes. Interesting segment for sure. That's burnt.
That's burnt for you.
Get some tunes back rolling. Let's wrap us up.
Oh, yeah. What was your take today? Any unique insights?
I mean,
That was a chill one.
just this tempo stuff is crazy. The L1s, the stable chains. People on Twitter are going back and forth right now about Ethereum. They don't want to use, these companies don't want to use Ethereum, and people are pissed about it.
Jacob didn't talk a whole lot about tempo. Jacob from Plasma, you know, it was like,
Well, because they're just building a competitor.
of course, but I'm just, you know, it's always interesting to hear competitors talk about one another. Competition's fierce.
I mean, look, I think the Ethereum people are really upset about these L1s.
I mean, that's how you know that the competition's real. Because like if they weren't worried about these L1s siphoning off TVL and transaction activity, like they wouldn't really care.
I mean, look, I think I think Tempo kind of copied Plasma's docs or something as well.
That's what Jacob was saying. Yeah.
I think somebody tweeted it as today. I was like, that looks really familiar.
What's your take on Paradigm?
Dude, there's some sharks, aren't they?
I was staying at a hotel in California for SBC, and they had their team dinner downstairs. I was thinking about just popping by.
Yeah, there's some sharks, man. I mean, this is basically their chain. I mean, Stripe is in on it, but it's their chain.
They've got quite the partner list. Anthropic,
OpenAI. Man, I'm bullish Plasma. I think that they're going to do well. It's going to be a huge launch. It's going to be the biggest launch of the year.
I think so too. I think it's just going to be like, you know, I think Plasma is going to be even more stablecoin focused than the Stripe chain. I think Stripe is going to end up like we heard they have an enshrined DEX. There's going to be like more just apps, a more general purpose approach as far as I see it on Tempo.
Yeah. We'll see, man. We'll see you tomorrow. Another banger stream. Guys, thanks for coming out. See you tomorrow, Friday, last one of the week. And
finish strong. Don't be sidelined for September. Andy?
soon.
Cheers, guys.